Welcome to Travel Services with Masego. In this video, we are going to be discussing foreign exchange for travel services in 6. If you find this video helpful, please give it a huge thumbs up, click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and share to help a fellow tourism student. Please note, this video is based on the TVET syllabus for students studying towards a national certificate in tourism. Notes, textbooks, slides, and previous question papers can be found on futuremanagers.com, which will be linked in the description box below. So today, I just want us to go through foreign exchange. This is a summary and just important terms, introducing you to how to actually deal with foreign exchange in the context of travel services in 6. So the first thing that we look at is the general requirements for buying foreign exchange. Now it says in the slide, the allowance may only be purchased from 60 days prior to departure. This means that if you have a trip to a foreign country, you can only buy for the foreign exchange currency, or you can only buy the foreign currency 2 months before, within a period of 2 months before you actually depart for your trip. Anytime before that, you will not be allowed to buy this foreign currency. And then the next point is you can cash in the foreign currency 30 days, within 30 days of return from your trip. So when you come back from your trip, you only have about a month to go back to your authorized dealer, which can be a bank or any other authorized dealer, to go sell them back the foreign exchange, or the foreign currency, the foreign currency that you brought back from your trip, for them to convert it into South African rand. During this process, the authorized dealer should record the transactions. So there should be a formal record stating, on this day, Masego came in to buy dollars. She gave us 2,000 rand and we gave her $500, for example. Right? And then the next point says the international currency code must be used in all calculations. So this is just a tip for when calculating your foreign exchange activities. You must always remember to use the currency codes as you go. So where you are indicating South African rand, you will use the South African rand currency code. And then if you are using any other country's currency, you must indicate the 3-letter code for that currency. And then also it is important to note that depending on the rate of exchange, the currency of one country will be higher in value than the other. So you might, for example, you will see that the South African rand, as compared to the dollar is stronger. So if you would need if you have $1 in South African rand, I think currently you might be getting about 19 or 18 rand for $1. So this also has its own reasons. You can go on in your own time and check in your textbooks, or just Google why currencies fluctuate and how does fluctuation work, and so on and so forth. Who qualifies for foreign exchange? So over and above the fact that for you to buy foreign exchange, it has to be within a certain period, and for you to sell foreign exchange, it should be within a certain period. There also is a qualifying criteria for who can actually buy foreign exchange. It's not just anyone. And here, the criteria is not like rigid, like you need to have a matric certificate or whatever. It's just, it says any person who is a permanent resident of South Africa can buy foreign exchange. So anyone can buy foreign exchange as long as you are a permanent resident of South Africa. Then there's terms and conditions to that. For people over the age of 18 years, you are allowed to take up to 1 million rand this annually. This 1 million rand is then called your discretionary travel allowance, which basically means for a period of 1 year, you are allowed to buy up to 1 million rand of foreign currency. Obviously, you as a traveler or as a tourist, you won't take 1 million rand at a go. Usually you will maybe need 25,000 rand, 50,000 rand, 100,000 rand per trip. And then depending on the number of trips you take, then your maximum will be annually, your maximum will be 1 million rand. And then for people under the age of 18 years old, their discretionary annual allowance is then 200,000 rand. This can also be cut up to meet the needs of the traveler. So for example, if you are traveling 5 times in a year, going to a foreign destination, then you will take maybe 50,000 and still be left over with 50,000 rand after like your trips probably. Then travelers visiting CMAs. Your CMA is a common monetary area. These are areas where the South African rand is equivalent to that country's currency. So 1 rand is on par with that currency. With those countries, the common monetary areas, you are allowed to take up to 25,000 rand in cash, and it will not be deducted from your travel allowance, your discretionary travel allowance. Then we have deductible and non-deductible costs. Now, in the previous slide, I did say in common monetary areas, you can take up a specific amount of money, 25,000 rand to be exact in South African rands, and it will not be deducted from your annual discretionary travel allowance. Now, how do we know what can we deduct and what can't we deduct from the travel allowance? That brings us to this slide, which is deductible and non-deductible costs. Now, with deductible and non-deductible costs, we have to understand that the first thing that we need to understand is the concept of travel arrangements. Now, travel arrangements is defined as everything that the traveler pays to the travel agency. So everything including your flights, your visa application, your insurance, your accommodation, your sightseeing, and so on and so forth, transfers, anything that your travel agency is charging you for or is helping you with will be charged under travel arrangements or falls under travel arrangements. Then within this category of travel arrangements, we have what we call deductible land arrangements. Your deductible land arrangements are the prepaid items on the list of travel arrangements. You have prepaid items that you pay before leaving South Africa. So things like your accommodation, your sightseeing in a foreign country. You prepay those things before leaving the country. Now, this definition can be a little confusing because automatically when you go to a travel agency, you are prepaying everything in advance, right? So to further distinguish the land arrangements from the travel arrangements, the land arrangements are paid in foreign currency to that specific country, and then the other travel arrangements will be paid in South African rand to South African service providers. So this will include your flights, your visa applications, your insurance, so on and so forth. These items are paid in South African rand, and therefore we don't have to deduct them from the annual travel allowance. So that's where the deductible and non-deductible comes from. Non-deductibles are things that are paid in South African rand, and therefore we don't calculate them when we are deducting from the annual travel allowance. And then the deductibles are things that are paid in a foreign currency, and therefore should be deducted from your annual travel allowance. They are taken as you are already spending from that 1 million rand travel allowance. Note, the cost of land arrangements form part of the annual discretionary allowance and should be deducted, but the local payments of airfares does not. Okay. So here is an example of travel arrangements versus land arrangements, which is also same as your deductible and non-deductible arrangements, right? So here, the explanation that we saw in the previous slides for travel arrangements is everything that Mr. Dube is currently paying for. So when we look at travel arrangements, it includes your air ticket, your visa, your insurance, your accommodation, and your day tours and sightseeing fees. All of these fall under travel arrangements. However, when we look at the travel arrangements, under the category that is written land arrangements, we have costs that are written in various currencies, your USD and your GBP. Those are your land arrangements. And then your land arrangements, for you to be able to calculate the total amount of money that you are spending for your travel arrangements, you have to now convert your land arrangements into the South African rand so that you can see how much exactly you are going to be spending on travel arrangements, right? So as a pro tip or whatever, note that your land arrangement in travel services in 6 activities will always be written in a foreign currency. So the first step that you will need to do is convert your land arrangement to South African rand so that you can start working out how much your travel arrangements are going to be. Now, in order for you to start working out your land arrangements and converting your currencies from one to another, you need to understand the following terms. Now, the first one is your banker's selling rate. Now, it is important that you know that when converting foreign currencies, we take consideration of what the bank is doing and not what the tourist or the customer is doing. I'm going to elaborate on this one. So the bank is the one selling and buying currencies, right? Selling and buying currencies. So the bank is selling to the tourist a foreign currency. We are going to use the bank selling rate to convert these currencies, right? When someone goes in to buy from the bank and the bank is selling to them, we are using the bank selling rate. And then when the roles are reversed, the person is coming. Unfortunately, the bank buying rate is at the bottom. But when the person is coming, when the bank is buying the foreign currency back from the customer or the tourist, this is in situations where a person is coming back from a trip and wants to return the foreign currency that they have and convert it into South African rand, then they can the bank uses the bank buying rate to buy back those foreign currencies. You have the TT, which is the telegraphic transfer selling rate. And then you have the airmail, which is the buying rate for travelers' checks. And then the surface mail for surface or sea mail, which is for converting banknotes into South African rands, right? So the TT selling rate, this is now for telegraphic transfer, which is like electronic payments. This is the rate that you are going to be using for if in cases where they tell you this person comes back and telegraphically transfers a certain amount of dollars, for example, then you will use the TT selling rate. And then airmail is for travelers' checks. So if the person comes back with travelers' checks and wants to convert them into cash in South African rand, then you will use the airmail buying rate. And then the surface and sea mail is for if you have actual foreign bank notes, then you want to convert them into South African banknotes, you will use your surface or sea mail. Now, where do you get this information from? For you to be able to make your conversions, you will have to get a ROE table. So your rate of exchange table. The rate of exchange table will vary from one company to another or one authorized dealer to another, but the main things that we look to see there or that we want to see there is the country. So in the first column there you can see the country, you can see the currency code in the second column, and then from there you have your ROE amount. So if you were selling, meaning the bank is selling the currency to a customer, they will use the selling rate that is under selling. And then if the bank is buying from you, they have air buy, which I explained in the previous slide. You have air buy, and then you have sea buy in this table. Then you will then have to see, okay, is the bank buying from this person cash or using or is the bank buying actual banknotes from this person, or is it a traveler's check, or what is it? And then with selling, it's basically, we already know the bank is going to use this selling rate for all transactions, whether you want to buy, whether it's selling you a traveler's check, or if it's selling you actual banknotes, or if it's going to telegraphically transfer, it doesn't matter. Here is another example of a ROE table where you have the country code, you have your currency, you have your countries, you have your currency code, and then you have your bank buying rate, which is written in two sections. You have your bank buying rate with telegraphic transfers, and then you have your bank buying rate for checks. So your bank can buy your telegraphic your electronic transferred money, or can buy a traveler's check from you. And then you have your bank selling rate, which is written under foreign. It is with the bank selling rate, the bank can sell you foreign notes, it can sell you checks or telegraphic transfers, and it can sell you foreign notes. So if you look at it, the conversion for each one is different, right? So depending on the instructions that you will get from your activity or your textbook, then you will have to choose the correct rate that you will that you will use for your conversion. Now, to convert one currency to another, you will either use your bank selling rate or your bank buying rate and the conversion formula. The conversion formula is as follows. If you look where it says note, when converting ZAR to foreign currency, you must multiply. Exceptions are your British pound, USD, and euro, because these are major currencies. So when you're converting rand to any other foreign currency, if we take a look at the ROE table in the previous page, you have your Australian dollar and the others. If you are converting to these foreign currencies, you will multiply. But if you are converting to your major currencies, you will then divide, because the major currencies are higher in value than the rand. So the example there below, there's an example there below. If you want to convert 5,600 rand into GBP, you will then divide by the bank selling rate, because the bank is selling your British pound to you. So now you divide by the rate of exchange that you find in your ROE table. For the sake of this example, let's just say we went and then we checked the ROE table. In the activity, we will go through how to check the ROE table properly. So you divide the amount 5,600 divided by the bank selling rate, and then it gives us 279 British pounds and a few cents. If you are converting now South African rand to a Canadian dollar, then you are going to multiply it, because now this is not one of the major currencies. It's much smaller in value than the others, and the ROE is right there. So you multiply the amount of rands you have by the rate of exchange, and then it gives you the amount in Canadian dollars. So that point that I mentioned earlier on, that the value of each currency might be higher and so on and so forth, is seen clearly in this example, because you can see when you're converting the South African rand to a major currency, the amount that you get is much lower in value than the amount that you get when you're converting any other currency. Like in this case, it's now 6,000. It's more than 6,000 Canadian dollars. I hope this is the actual currency. I think it is Canadian dollars. I'm not sure. Then, when converting foreign currency into rand, any other foreign currency into rand, you must divide. Exceptions are your major currencies, your GBP, USD, and euro. So here, your Mauritian rupee, you have your Mauritian rupee at 6,000, and then it says check, right? It says check. You have your Mauritian rupee is 6,000 Mauritian rupees check. So here you will then in your ROE table, you will look for checks. When you are doing your conversion, you will look for the section that is especially for checks, and then you will then divide that by the ROE. That gives you converting it back to your South African rand. For the USD or your major currencies, you then have to now multiply the by the ROE. Then it says notes. This means it is your bank notes. So you will then also have to look in the ROE table for the rate for the bank notes, for the rate of exchange for actual bank notes, and then multiply for major currencies. It is important that you take note of this, find a way to summarize this slide, and remember how it works, because this is how you are going to be, this is the major thing that you are going to be tested on under foreign exchange. And once you have a good understanding of the concepts that we just went through in this presentation, you will be able to complete and deal with any forex related activities for travel services in 6, and better understand how the industry works when it comes to bringing in foreign exchange and taking out foreign exchange into the country. We have come to the end of the session. Please do share your thoughts and questions below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so that you are notified every time I post a new video. Till the next session, bye guys.